So what do you think will be the biggest challenge that Luckin will face in the US? Because like you said, it's such a different market from China. Labor issues would be one.
I think politics-wise, if they can spin the story right, I mean, bring manufacturing back to US, but that's a joke.
That's their new tagline.
No, that's a joke. Okay,
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Impulso podcast by Momentum Works. So Luckin didn't announce. Luckin is going to open 2 stores in the US.
kind of announced.
They announced
on
via
Instagram.
So they had this Instagram post that they are going to open 2 stores on 30th June in New York City.
Both outlets in New York.
Yeah, 2 outlets in New York. So this is their
which other
first.
places? 75
Broadway.
6th Avenue.
Both in Manhattan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think from last year we knew that they were squarely focused on the US market, and I mean the company has been in Singapore for 2 years, right? I mean you guys see the Luckin outlet downstairs.
Yes.
Yes.
We were contemplating buying Luckin this morning.
Did you manage to buy it?
No,
No.
we didn't feel like drinking coffee. We just wanted
You have a
props
huge
for the
you have a huge
water.
you have a huge Starbucks like logo here, which
We wanted props for the
which
podcast.
shows your allegiance, but
No product placement.
no product placement. But I think 60 stores in Singapore after 2 years.
Yes.
I presume they're profitable. So, and last year they went into Malaysia, but they didn't go on their own.
Joint venture, right?
Yeah, I think they is it joint venture or a
It's
master
like
licensee?
a master licensing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was a master licensee. So we have an article about that we wrote about their entry into
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Yes.
So that'll be linked in the show notes down below if you guys are interested to check it out.
So and of course, friends from rest of Southeast Asia are asking that, okay, when will Luckin go into Indonesia, go into like this country, that country, but clearly, I think they're interested in all these countries. Otherwise, they would not spend all the efforts to fight that legal battle for their for their copycat in Thailand. Initially they lost, but I think eventually in appeal they won, and they got back their logo and brand. So which means that they are interested in those markets. But I think that Luckin leadership is squarely focused on the US market.
But it makes sense, right? Because obviously the US is a huge coffee market. They
Starbucks
have
has like what? How many?
17,000? I think about 17K stores in the US alone.
Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Starbucks.
it's almost like 2/3 or more than 2/3 of their revenue.
Yeah, I think it was,
Something like that, yeah.
as of their latest financial statements, it's
Yeah.
about 60% of their, maybe more than 60% of their revenue.
69%.
Of their revenue. But it's interesting because I think we were talking about this a couple of episodes back about Chagee's IPO and their launch in the US as well, right? So
Chagee is the Chinese tea brand,
That
which
is-
tries to be Starbucks of tea.
yeah, so there are a couple of videos. We have one as well where we talk about how Chagee is kind of like the Starbucks of tea. So what's interesting is Chagee chose to open in LA, whereas Luckin chose to open in New York City. And not just Luckin, so Coffee, which is Luckin's competitor in China, that was started by the ex-CEO that got kicked out of Luckin. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they also opened in New York City.
Why?
So why do you think they chose to open in different? LA and New York are big cities. They are more diversified cities, big Asian population, right? So it's, well, I guess for Chagee it matters more. I don't know why it would matter for Luckin, because coffee appeals to a lot of people.
I think
So why
I think
New York?
I think LA has a large ethnic Chinese population. So I think it's probably easier to find people to work for you. It's easier to appeal to the initial set of customers. But when you look at Luckin, they went straight to New York, and of course New York is where, I mean, I think the coffee culture is kind of defined, right? So
Yes.
we look at TV and stuff, and they always talk about like coffee shops in New York, coffee houses in New York, etc. So I think that they are targeting the mainstream consumers in New York.
They're not just going for like maybe the Chinese audience that already knows
But
them.
that'd be too small, right? It's like
That's true.
a few million people, but they're scattered across the country. So as a coffee brand, you'll probably go for the mainstream.
I think the way Luckin operates also fits New York, because like when we think of the average New Yorker, you think of like quick, efficient,
True.
you want things done very fast, right? So
And you hold a couple of
It's,
Yeah.
it's just
a
a
walk
grab
in the
and
street.
go.
you
You
hold
want
a
to
cup
be able
of
to
Luckin and walk down the street. So it matches the
That's true,
vibe.
because it's a very commuter city as well.
Yeah.
Like you will take the
Walk.
train and then
You
you will
walk.
walk to the office. But the way they launch in New York is quite cute, right? So they haven't officially opened their stores
Yeah.
yet, but they had sort of like some food trucks they announced on their Instagram as well. They had some food trucks that were kind of like going around the
Different
city.
areas of the city, right?
Yeah, the different areas of the city. I think it's
And you have influencers posting.
they're
free
influencers.
coffee.
Actually, it's really just this one influencer. Like we see this guy's name a lot.
If you go to TikTok, I think there's a couple more. So there's a couple of videos. Essentially, they're giving out free coffee, free tote bags.
Yeah.
I think I think this is pretty standard methodology of the expansion, right? You drive up interest first, and you get a bit of brand awareness when the store opens, so it will not be cold.
Yes, you
And,
generate hype. And the
generate-
queues are quite long as well.
A free coffee.
Yeah, that's true. Who wouldn't queue for free coffee?
See, I mean, free coffee is not only a Singapore thing. I mean, anywhere you go, people love free stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have free coffee here in Singapore. The queues
didn't
will be
even launch
You
insane.
used to have
coffee.
you used to have like free Milo in schools.
Oh, the Milo
yeah,
truck.
the Milo
Yeah,
truck.
something similar, right? I mean, it sort of implants the Milo brand into
I
your
feel
mind.
like that's the smartest thing they ever did. Because
Milo
like
truck.
after that, when they come out with the Milo truck sachets,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
completely sold out in all NTUCs across the island.
But the Milo
NTUC
truck-
is the government-owned supermarket chain, which is everywhere in Singapore.
My Milo truck, like Milo hit different.
Yeah, that's why.
It's like
So, but
double
anyway,
the
so
powder.
I think back to Lucky in the US, they probably spent a lot of time preparing for this launch because same as what we discussed about Meituan going to Brazil, etc. So it's a very large market, and it's a market where things are quite different from China, I would say. So you deal with I think different consumer base, different competitive landscape, different kinds of sort of retail landscape as well, and also at the end of the day, you have different labor issues, right? I mean, I'm not sure if you've been following the news that I think there's a union over Starbucks, like baristas, who are trying to hire more people to send into Starbucks to help the new stores unionize.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think this is an issue that Lucky has never dealt with in China.
that's true. So it'll be. So it's if you guys are interested, we do have an article that we wrote on our blog, TheLowDown, that will be linked in the show notes below. But something interesting, I think, that you mentioned in the article is that, of course, the difference between Luckin and all these other coffee stores that we are seeing, all these more traditional coffee chains, is that Luckin works more as an e-commerce company.
It is because everything is digital. All the touch points with consumers are digital.
You have to order purely from the app. No.
Yes. I mean, no barista smiling at you, asking your name and stuff, and so everything is done on a map, and you go to the store to pick it up, and you scan a code to get a coffee, right? So, if you think about the people working in a Luckin store, they're manufacturing. I mean, they're like
Essentially, because they're just making a cup of coffee, right? There's
they're
no
like
customer service.
A factory line.
they're like they're like production line, right? So people just I mean, turning like the raw materials into coffee, and you just go and fetch the coffee. It's like a fulfillment center.
Yes.
So maybe that fits into Trump's vision of bring manufacturing back to the US. You see, they're manufacturing coffee.
but it's a Chinese company bringing it back to the US.
Yeah, that's even better, right? The Chinese companies bringing manufacturing back to the US.
Bringing the manufacturing process. So you mentioned in the article that obviously this gives Luckin an edge when they are expanding into the US as well as expanding into different categories.
So
unlike players like Chagee, right? Where it's still a lot more complicated to make an order. I think
Chagee is already much more digital compared to the other tea chains. But I mean, if you think about Luckin, it's a platform. It's a platform which controls all the digital touch points with the consumers. It's a platform which controls all the store operations. It's a platform which allows new products to be launched into the stores, and the inventory has been managed very efficiently. I mean, you talk about all this like more than 100 like new products launched into Luckin stores every year. And I mean, if you think about a traditional sort of a company, how are they able to do that efficiently? I mean,
they can't keep up.
Yeah, you sending the goods effectively to
so many different stores.
Luckin's like 24,000 stores as of end of March, I think.
Yeah.
And to so many also, I mean, anticipated inventory levels and stuff. That's why I think you see lots of new products that are seasonal. They're not like added to the permanent menu because it's securing the supply and everything. So
I feel that's one thing that I feel is different about Luckin, that they launch seasonal products, right? But when a product does really well, they add it to their main menu very quickly. So like the butter latte that we like to drink, it also started as like a seasonal product because it's their collaboration with the Butter Bear.
So the context is, in China we had this little butter latte and we loved it. And then when we come back to Singapore, it wasn't here. And then one day it appeared as a seasonal product. And within like 2 months, I think less than 2 months, within a month, it became a permanent product on the menu.
So which means when they designing a product, they would probably secure the supply to make sure that if the product gets a good response from consumers, which they will know because I mean they know exactly each touch point. I mean they know exactly who is ordering what. So and they have the ability to actually organize the supply chain at a permanent basis.
Yeah, that's true. That must be.
So
like you're collecting data, but at the same time making sure that if I want to make this permanent, I will have the supply chain.
It's not just about the collection of the data. It's like how they use it and how quickly they can utilize.
And also, I think for some of their products, it's probably it doesn't have like fresh fruit or whatever, so which the supply chain is much harder to organize, and but. If it's a platform like this, which can organize things in a very efficient way, in a very cost-effective way, and you can think of like adapting this into other categories of drinks or something else, but probably it's not their focus now. Their focus is still just expanding mainly coffee, and also expanding the store network. And once they have reached a saturation point where they can't grow the footprint anymore, it's a time which they're probably going to add more categories onto their offering.
I think they are. I mean, they still have room to grow, right? They're like the 5th or 6th largest F&B chain by number of stores now.
Yes, but I think if you think about the US, right?
And I think the US will be a huge market for them once
I'm sure the ambition will probably be around 20,000 stores in the US.
So what do you think will be the biggest challenge that Luckin will face in the US? Because like you said, it's such a different market from China. Labor issues would be one.
I think politics-wise, if they can spin the story right, I mean, bring manufacturing back to the US, but that's a joke.
That's their new tagline.
No, that's a joke. So I think I know that the leadership is very committed to this market. So it's not. I mean, so we use this framework, pop leadership, right? People, organization, product leadership to analyze market entries of these large Chinese companies. So I think the leadership is very determined. I think the product, they have a superior product, and they have polished a system of. They've polished a platform basically, a digital platform. I think in terms of people and organization, this will probably be the biggest challenges, right? And so, their current people, are they able to handle multiple markets, especially the US market, which is big and different. So that way explained why they did Singapore launch first. I mean, Singapore is a small market. Yeah. And
I would say more similar
to China. Not really.
To the US. Than the US is to China.
I don't know. I think in multiple aspects, it's.
In terms of the labor force?
Yeah, in terms of people.
There are no unions, right? There are unions. You just mentioned about NTUC. NTUC is National Trade Union. Really. But they do welfare. They don't haggle with the employers. But anyway, that's a different topic. I think doing that in Singapore is similar to Meituan doing that in Hong Kong, right? So it's a relatively small setting, which allows you to test, okay, is my organization able to run a parallel market which is different from my own? Am I able to prioritize enough resources? Am I able to develop and operate a separate product? Am I able to sort of build a hybrid team? Because you will have some executives sent from China because they know the business model inside out. And you will need to hire local executives who can help you find better locations and manage the local employees, etc. But translate that into US is a much bigger challenge, right? So how does that organization fit into such a large undertaking? I'm sure that learning fast is a big challenge. And I'm sure they're aware of it and are willing to sort of take efforts to address it. That's why they're in the US market, right?
I mean, they must have given this some thought before they decided to expand in the US.
Of course, it's a big commitment. I mean, contrary to what many people say, right? I mean, you just go into market. I think these guys have done lots of strategic thinking before doing that. Yeah.
So if any of you are based in New York and you've seen a Luckin store or you went to the pop-up, you can let us know your thoughts down below of what you think of Luckin Coffee, whether or not you would consider buying it again if it's not free. It's not bad, I think.
It's 99 cents for the first
yeah,
cup.
99 cents for your first cup to download the app.
Actually,
that's like 10% of a Starbucks coffee. That's
really?
mad. Okay, my Starbucks coffee is $9.
What do you buy?
Caramel frappe. It's not even coffee.
Okay, but it was interesting when that news came out. That Luckin app went online in the US, and they're selling the first cup of coffee for like 99 cents. A friend of mine who grew up in the US but moved to Asia and like 10 years ago, and of course his mindset is probably still stuck in the US in the past. He said, "Oh, when I was still in the US, and everything that's 99 cents will write 99 with a cent sign." And now look at e-commerce, it's $0.99. It must be a sign of inflation.
Was it 99 cents when they launched in Singapore, or it was 0.99?
0.99.
It was
0.99.
Inflation.
Yes.
Yeah, 99 cents don't feel... I don't know. I feel it would be weird to just see the
because
cents
99
symbol.
cents is 99, but if you put
0.99,
0.99
you're like, oh, it's
$0.99.
$1. That's true. It's all
Correct.
a psychology thing. So thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Impulso podcast. We hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, do like our video as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on the latest happenings and trends in tech, new retail, and the broader digital economy. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.